Hey!
Hey! Hello and welcome.
It's one of our shortest intros.
I know.
I'm not ready for it.
JT's over there checking his stocks.
No, I'm replying to a Twitter message from Matt Vader.
He's not important.
He is.
He thinks he's important.
He's very important. He
He's
has important
to
things
JT.
to do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, we're not live. You might think we're live, but we're not.
No.
No.
We're not live.
That's why we had that short intro.
It was.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not live.
I mean, we're live, but we're just not live.
Okay. Scared me.
How you guys all doing tonight?
Pretty good. I'm excited to wrap up this month with the JFK 60th anniversary of his assassination. We've done some really cool things. One of them was reviewing 11/22/63 about a school teacher trying to save him and how that impacted the world. That was a fun.
Now I changed the pin on my debit card. Thanks, JT.
Oh, well. If no one would have known unless you said something. But that's been fun. That was a fun review.
Yeah.
And Beard, you were with us the whole time.
Yeah. It was
you're
fun.
You're like chewing gum on the bottom of a shoe. We just can't get rid of you.
Well, speaking of chewing gum, should we just tell everybody?
Yeah, but before we do that, and then over on my channel, last night we went live and we did the conspiracy theories around JFK, and we even did a little bonus video of the other assassinations of other presidents. So that's that. Those two videos of mine will be on Rumble, so that'd be kind of fun.
It's probably good because there's a few things I said that the government might have to remove your video. So
yeah, I already got a context tag because of you, so it's okay.
Yeah, I aim to please.
I thought maybe it's because I called LBJ an asshole last night.
Well, yeah, go watch the Rumble video. You'll laugh because I highlight that section quite a bit. So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited, and I'm excited to talk about this movie. But we'll get to that here in a second. But yeah, if you want to make the announcement, go right ahead.
Me, or should we have the other person make the announcement?
Who's the other person?
Well, the one.
Lord Vader, the fleet has moved out to flight speed and we're preparing to...
You have failed me for the last time, Admiral. Captain Piet.
Yes, my lord.
Make ready to land our troops beyond their energy field, then deploy the fleet so that nothing gets off the system. You are in command now, Admiral Piet.
Thank you, Lord Vader.
We'll bobblehead sticking off to the side.
We'll sync this all up one day. No, we do have a big announcement. You were just super excited about it, so I thought you were going to do it. So, as you know, Beard of Liberty has been
a lovely piece of chewing gum below us.
Has been on our channel quite a bit, especially for the month of November. And so we decided to add a third wheel to this adventure that we're doing on YouTube. So we want to make that full announcement today. He accepted. So
welcome.
The lady who eats paste was the most excited one in that crowd for you.
You know what? I bet she's got some stories, so I'm okay with that.
I'm sure. So yeah, welcome to the full time on the channel
for you.
So have I graduated to something other than gum on the bottom of the shoe now?
Yeah,
we'll have to think of an analogy. Yeah,
yeah, maybe. Yeah, we'll maybe a piece of tape. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I don't know. I'm happy to be here.
You are our W now.
Yeah, that's right. I am the dub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, this is nice.
Steven is a vote for liberty. Remember that.
That's right. You can do whatever the hell you want.
Since this will be a premiere, everyone in the chat that's watching this live, I guess, go ahead and give him a big round of applause and congrats. So we're good. We're happy to have him. He brings a whole nother personality to this show. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I honestly wasn't expecting this. This comes after me saying several times over the last couple of shows, your viewers are going to get tired of seeing my face.
Well, they are.
They
are. Tough.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are reviewing. To wrap up this month of JFK, we're reviewing the movie
JFK.
Yeah. I wonder how you say that in Spanish.
El JFKO.
Okay. Makes sense. I'm excited to talk about this movie. I haven't seen this movie in years because it is about 3 hours long, and is one of those VHSs, if you had it back in the day, that was 2 tapes and it had an intermission. So
I want to know how many times did just people who are clueless watch the wrong tape first.
Oh, and then they went backwards. I don't know. But it's one of the earlier movies that is long. Nowadays, a 3-hour movie is almost every movie nowadays. It's like 2.5 hours usually. But this one was epic because it was 3 hours. So, and it was at this time it was 1991, correct? When this came out, right?
Yeah, 2 years before the 30th anniversary.
Okay. And it was directed and written by, or just directed by Oliver Stone?
It was directed by Oliver Stone, and he worked on the screenplay for it. But
right. Okay.
It was mainly based off of the main character's book, Jim Garrison, that he did.
And that's he's a real attorney general of Louisiana.
Yeah.
And all events happened. I mean, maybe they dramatize some things. Maybe the Golden Boy scene, but hey, what I was curious about this one though was how accurate it was. So I'm curious. I did a little bit of research, and it's pretty close to kind of what happened with his life and the trial and everything. But I probably would like to read the book.
Well, this too, kind of, I think really kind of brought, I feel like the conspiracies around the event to mainstream. We weren't alive for it, but I feel like there was probably rumors, but not.
It was probably talked about in the house, right?
But
maybe
probably,
with your uncle.
Yeah.
And then maybe you and this brought it to a movie. And I do know, I think I've heard rumors that Oliver Stone is pretty obsessed with this, like what actually happened. Just similar to Cameron with Titanic.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we talked about on your channel. I mean, it's a rabbit hole, that you can just easily fall down into.
Yeah, you could very much, and we've this whole month.
And I actually feel like we've just scratched the surface of most things. We're just sitting there poking out the entrances to all these different paths we could chase down for hours on end for each single one.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, the bigger difference though too is, we've been talking about fiction, and here we're talking about nonfiction.
True.
So
yeah, true.
It's kind of been a unique progression, I feel like, in our JFK month.
Yeah. Again, this is going to be. I'm going to remember doing this month on this channel for a while. It was it's been fun. So 1991, Oliver Stone, Kevin Costner.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal cast. We'll bring that up later in the slides. But it essentially the plot of the story though is, I mean, it starts off with showing the assassination, and then kind of a lot of people's reaction to it. I mean, most people were devastated.
It was interesting, right? Because it was the lead up to it, him kind of becoming the president, but like how JFK was liked and not liked. They did show both. I do remember that. And then when he was coming to Dallas, like everybody's they're not sure which, or he's coming to Texas. They don't know what city he's going to Texas, because they didn't want to tell people. 20. They wanted to be real quiet about it.
He initially came into San Antonio, I want to say.
Yeah. So he's doing his little trips around the U.S. and they're kind of montage that, and they montage a little bit of the beginning of Kevin Costner's character as well involved.
They don't say it, but he's leading up into his next, for his second term, to run for his second term, and
the
really
narration
needed,
I think is Martin Sheen.
It's Martin Sheen, yeah. He really needed to win Texas to secure his victory, but he was having a lot of opposition, so that was kind of his other reason for going to Texas is
and they also mentioned the Bay of Pigs, which we talked about on my show, and all and the lead up to that, because this movie covers the aftermath of that as well. So
and I mean, again, we weren't alive. I mean, I really get the impression that it's interesting that it really seemed like not everybody in the Democratic Party was on board with JFK. It almost seemed like it was split 50-50, and then, I mean, and I could be entirely wrong. Hey, somebody in the comments can correct me, but it almost seemed like the rest of his support came from...
Bro, if you're watching, let us know.
Came from Republicans. I think with a lot of his policies.
Well, he was kind of the start of the modern celebrity president, where support would cross the aisle and division would exist on the same side that support came from.
But I mean, and the big thing, his support of civil rights.
Right.
I think that's where he got a lot of his support, actually, from the Republicans, because they voted for an approval for all of that. It was the Democratic Party where that was split. And you see Jim Garrison and his, they hear about him getting shot, and they go down to like the local bar because they have a TV, at the time. That was a big deal. But
that kind of reminded me of when they were showing the people watching the event on TV, and like the days of and the days after. That reminded me when 9/11 happened. Like I worked in a restaurant in 9/11, and I on that same day I had to go to work, and there was a sports bar right next to the other restaurant that had more TVs than we had, like one. But like everybody was dead center in that bar watching the televisions at that restaurant at 11 o'clock in the morning or something like that on the West Coast. And it was crazy because no one was it was quiet. I worked in a restaurant in a mall, and it was dead silence, but everybody was over there watching across the street in the bar. No one was doing anything. And this whole montage of people watching this thing on television in a bar, it reminded me of that a little bit.
It was a massive event. I mean, it certainly was probably equivalent to that, because
they're both the type of where were you when events.
And okay, so when we talked about the assassination prior to his, McKinley, there was no TV. I don't think there was even radio. So I mean,
that's very true. I mean, during Thanksgiving, I meant to kind of ask my grandma a little bit about this, but I didn't get a chance to. But I did remember asking my dad. My dad was 6 when this happened, and I just said, "Do you remember any of that?" And he goes, "I do remember hearing about it." And he's like, "I do remember my parents being very shocked by it." You know, I mean, like as much as I kind of can,
there was big,
for it.
There was mixed emotions. There's people that were shocked and sad, and there were people that were excited and happy.
It seemed like, well, I mean, it was kind of, it almost seemed like maybe it was like 80-20, 90-10, where like I think most people were very shocked by it, but there was those small people who, and you even saw it in the bar where there was a guy who was like, "Yeah, good riddance," you know. A lot of people just being disgusted by the fact. I almost feel like, I think for even people who maybe were not necessarily a supporter of him, you know, like just a regular person, was, you know, sad that a man was killed.
Well, yeah, and he had a small child and a wife. So
yeah, well, he had two or three kids. I think son and 2 daughters. Plus, during his time, his no, I can't think of the word, but his first term, you know, his wife, she had a miscarriage during that too. I mean, that was, I remember, really big news. Just because I think she was going to have a little boy, so there was going to be a second son. So I mean, yeah, it was very upsetting for everybody. And 3 years passed, and in that time, there was what was called the Warren Report, which was headed up by I'm trying to think of it's named after the person, Earl Warren, Chief Justice Earl Warren, and it was a committee too that it had General Ford on it, or not General Gerald Ford, and a couple other, you know, just big, you know, political figures at the time. And Jim Garrison read the report and just, he's noticed a lot of inconsistencies. And
yeah, because he noticed that there's no way maybe one guy can shoot all 3 bullets. He realized, you know, like that's odd that they found this one magic bullet on the bed next to him in the hospital.
Yeah, there are things that are just either in there that don't make sense, or they're completely missing you that you would expect.
The fact that they sworn in LBJ really quickly. I thought that was odd. And then he started talking to people. He started doing some investigation.
They don't talk about it in the film, but I do want to mention with LBJ being sworn in. I know that later in life, like Jackie Kennedy did say, like, she was like forced into standing next to him and like being with him as he was being sworn in, and like
her just take a moment, right?
Yeah, like her, and like being like, I couldn't have a moment to mourn over my husband.
Like, give me 24 hours or something.
Yeah.
All about those optics.
And yeah, very much so. And I think even too, I want to say, like, they noticed that just like testimony from witnesses were
just odd.
Didn't seem natural. They
even mentioned when they interviewed Lee Harvey Oswald's wife, and they said she seemed like strung out, and she was just like, yeah, this is what happened. Like, she like looked like she read a script. They showed a lot of interesting things about the weirdness of the whole thing around JFK. He interviewed quite a few people. And I'm sure we'll talk about it more as we move forward. But this was in the theaters in 1991, right?
Yes, yeah. But right at the end of 91, this came out. I guess before we get into it, since you're bringing that up, we could really quick get into the numbers if you want.
Yeah.
11, 92, 12.
I got panicked. I couldn't find the slide for a moment. I was like, oh no.
The numbers, the counting threw you off.
Yeah. So this filmed not entire production, but just at least filming dates. I was able to find those out April 15th through July 31st of 1991. I mean, there was really no special effects in this film, so I'm sure this was probably a fairly short shoot. And then it was released on December 20th of 1991, so right at the end.
Right before Oscars.
Yeah. I do remember, commercials and previews for this as a kid.
The trailer's interesting if you watch it. It's very old school. It's a very old school trailer, like a man did this and this happened, like
in a world where
and there was like one scene where Kevin Costner actually talks in the trailer, but not and the rest of it is just a narrator, like what will he find out type of.
Was he like telling somebody dry land was a myth?
Yeah, I mean I could play it, but we'll probably get taken down. But all right, so Beer, this is your official numbers as you're part of the team now. So you go first.
I can't, because while looking up a synopsis to remind myself some key story points, I stumbled across them.
Okay, we'll just round up 10 and fake it. I'm gonna go 80 million for the budget, and maybe 200 million.
Are you guessing $91? Or are you guessing modern dollars?
91.
Okay.
Because JFK, I mean, sorry, not JFK. Kevin Costner's expensive, right? You got some expensive actors in this movie, I'm sure, and it's one of those things that he can win an Oscar. So
this was definitely peak Costner.
Okay, so we'll say 50 million budget, and maybe this thing doubled, so 100.
So $49 million went to Kevin Costner, $1 million for the rest of the movie.
Sounds about right.
Correct.
And then and box office, what are you thinking?
Double.
Okay.
Yeah. Is this the second movie we reviewed with Kevin? Robin Hood?
Yeah. Yes, it is. This is our second.
So you do a second movie, now you're on a first name basis with him?
Yeah. Maybe we'll do Bull Durham.
Oh, you do 3, you get invited for Thanksgiving.
No. I don't know if I would agree with a lot of the things he would say. But...
Yeah.
Okay, so Beard, there you go. What's your number, man?
I actually kind of liked your first go with the 8,200.
8,200. Okay, you doubled it.
$8,200.
80 million, 200 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Whoa.
Right. So 40 million.
That was close.
And that would be 90 million today. And then it did 205 million, which
that's pretty good.
457 today's dollars.
So you did double. You did what I said. You faked it. Good job.
No, I legitimately, when you gave your first guess, I thought, you know what? That sounds like probably what I would have guessed. So I just locked that in.
All right. So 40 million. That's not bad. That was close. And then I'm surprised it made this much money. Most people don't go to these long historical movies.
Again, because of how it was very much near the 30th anniversary. This was kind of one of those things where
I went with your grandpa and your dad.
Yeah, I think at this point though too, I think
both were alive.
I
some kid was in high school.
I almost want to say though, I feel like around this time some information around the event had gotten declassified too, and so I think that was like another thing that kind of brought up a lot of interest again in the event.
Okay, well, maybe. I mean, it reminds me when the movie Pearl Harbor came out. My grandfather was alive during that, and he was like, "Hey, let's go see this." Okay, pops, I don't know what I have no idea what's going on. And then he like told a story with a movie. So maybe a lot of people took their grandkids or their sons to this just to kind of let them know.
Well, and stuff stayed in the theater a lot longer than now, because they didn't
good
streaming, so it actually had time for word of mouth to build up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
because they were good movies.
Yeah.
and they were still making money. Well, cool. That's awesome. This would have been a decent movie nowadays, but it fits right in with the indie. This is probably what Napoleon will probably make. Is this right here?
I mean, it would still definitely be considered a success when you consider.
Yeah. I would think it would.
Oh yeah, $40 million budget, and then, I mean, that's not counting marketing. But even with that, to make, I mean, it made 5 times its budget.
Yeah,
it did a good job. It did a very good job. All right, so now we're this thing was packed with people. I mean, look at this. We have Newman. We have grumpy old men. We have
Santa Claus.
We have Santa Claus. We have Kevin Bacon.
Man, you want to play 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon? You come to this film and you're golden.
We have Mary Poppins, Uncle Buck.
Mary Poppins, Uncle Buck,
Aunt Jackie.
You've got the father of the was it the Tiger Blood dude?
Martin Sheen, who narrates the beginning of it. You got some.
You've also got the Kingpin,
grumpy old men.
And it's interesting they showed Jim Garrison, the actual person.
So he played Earl Warren in the film. So when they brought him up, that was actually being played by Jim Garrison. Jim Garrison actually died, I think, the following year from this film being made.
Even Kingpin from Daredevil's in this.
Yeah, he plays the dad on the grassy knoll. I mean, it's a very small part, but I was like, isn't that Vincent D'Onofrio? It's a phenomenal cast. I mean, you get to see
Tommy Lee Jones. I mean, he was fantastic in this movie.
I was going to say, you get to see Ed Asner beat the crap out of Jack Lemmon. We get to see Joe Pesci, Kevin Bacon, and Tommy Lee Jones huff poppers together,
and painted with gold.
Painted with gold.
Just looking at this cast, even some of them not yet at their peak of popularity, it's still amazing they did this for the budget that they did.
Yeah, and then you got Wayne.
It's not special effects heavy or anything, but still.
Well, in like John Candy's role, I mean, that's like,
he was hilarious.
But I mean, like, that's like totally not John Candy, the type of character that he plays.
And he's wearing sunglasses the whole time.
Yeah, but he's like real sleazy. And then you know who I thought that was phenomenal in this film, and I mean, I feel like I'm shocked more people didn't talk about her, but Laurie Metcalf was great in all her scenes.
Oh yeah, she was good. That's the sister from Roseanne. She did good.
It's Sheldon's mom. Big Bang Theory.
I don't know. No, she's the sister from Roseanne.
Aunt Jackie. But I kind of felt because she was one of the assistant. Was she assistant DA?
She was. Yeah, she was on Jim's team.
She kind of like knocked it out of the park in all of her scenes, and
I think everybody did a pretty exceptional job.
Yeah, she didn't get more.
Is he listed? Yeah, Donald Sutherland's character scared the living crap out of me.
Oh, it's fantastic.
When he's like, "Hey, I'm Mr. X, so I'm not going to tell you anything else, but I'm going to tell you exactly what's happened from my know-all from the event to now and what we used to do," because he was telling some Black Ops secrets. And
didn't he say a line similar to like, "I'd give you a name, but you wouldn't believe it anyway"?
Yeah, he goes, "So you just call me X."
I was going to say, with his character, because he was so calm at the same time, he was just so calm and relaxed in talking to him and explaining things, and it was terrifying information to hear.
Yeah, but you would think he would be all wired, like Alex Jones level, but he wasn't. He was so level, like you said, he was so level-headed explaining all the corruption that could be surrounding this.
It reminded me of, you guys might laugh at me, but in terms of just like the kind of the scariness of it and the calmness, it's that scene in Signs when it's the Mel Gibson and Joaquin Phoenix talking about what they think is going on, and Mel Gibson's like, "You want me to comfort you, or you want me to be honest?" And so he's like, "Comfort me," and he tells him this thing, and then he's like, "Be honest," and then he tells him the truth, and it's like to hear the truth from somebody that, like you feel like everything will be all right with them, and then they tell you something that's like you're screwed. Like that's how I felt. Like it's like hearing like a parent tell you like a harsh reality.
Yeah. I mean, he was only in this movie for what, 3 minutes?
It's a 10-minute scene. I would call it. Yeah, it's 10 minutes.
And it's the most terrifying scene in the whole movie.
And well, all I have to say is I feel like what he explains though is just.
We won't ruin it. We're not going to spoil anything, but it's pretty epic.
But to me, like it's the most believable of it all.
Yeah, because I didn't really take it as he was like you described as a parent explaining the terrifying realities of the world. It seemed more like to me as somebody who was on the inside, who knew everything so matter of factly and had so much control that he never feared for his life. So it didn't matter that he was out there spewing secrets. He had enough power to.
Yeah, but he didn't. He
protect himself. That's kind of what I felt.
He was also surprised that because he retired, he was retired from all that. When he talked to him about this, when he talked to Jim about this, he was also kind of shocked that he was pushed aside while all this was going on. Like they sent him to Antarctica, and he was like, "Really? Like why?" Because he knew exactly what was going on. He knew what the Black Ops type of deal. And we've talked about that on the live stream last night on my show, where the CIA likes to meddle with things, do things to certain countries, corrupt presidents, stage elections.
That's the double-edged sword of intelligence. Is once you're in and you retire, you still have information that they can't let you get out, so they have to treat you nice.
There's no IB like flasher thing.
No.
I won't say much more than this, but I mean, we're seeing stuff like this almost every day come out where the government and other companies are colluding together on things.
Yeah. Anyways, so
moving on.
But the movie though, it tells that story so well. The way he tells that story, and then like the montage, a part of it. It was done really well. That whole scene. Great cast. This was a fun cast to watch, interact with each other.
Yeah, and if you go into it not knowing all these people are here, every other scene somebody pops in. Oh, is that? Oh, wait, they're in this too?
Well, I was gonna say like Walter Matthau was great as like the senator. He's on the airplane. He's just like all flamboyant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those two actors were always fun together. Him and Jack Lemmon. So
but they don't have any scenes together in this. That's kind of the other funny thing.
I know, but they seem to always just be really good.
Sure.
So, anyways, yeah, cool. Alrighty.
And as they dig more and more, and he has his team, like everybody kind of takes, kind of like a certain area to dig, and they unravel. Just it's kind of insanity. I mean, like that's like the best way to
I mean, basically,
like they're all shocked at like what they're finding out, and
and some of them are in disbelief because it's like, no, this is such a great country. Why would this be happening?
And I think too that's kind of the other thing that's terrifying, right up to like this point. Everybody's believed that the government, there has had the people's interest, best interest at heart, and it's like anything but that.
Right. Well, this whole story surrounds around the Clay Shaw conspiracy, where he's head of this anti-Castro, super right wing group. That
I want to say in the film they kept on calling him like far left, though.
No, but the actual group was far right.
Okay, but I'm just saying a couple times they referred to him being far left.
Well,
I'm just saying
I don't know. But the actual conspiracy is that this group was
okay
because they were anti-Castro, so he was one way.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were the other way. So he had this. Remember we talked about it, where the exiles of Cuba were very upset how JFK handled the Bay of the Pigs and all of that.
Yep, just left
And
him
so
out there.
and Clay Shaw was a very elite person in the 60s. He had a lot of clout. He can do things. And he did a lot of shady stuff in the background, and so he knew stuff. And this idea that Jim had was this guy kicked off or not really kicked it off, but funded it, right? But because all the people that were involved were either dead by the time the trial happened, or died because they didn't want to get caught. They
I mean, at the very least, he's trying to find some connection to Oswald to disprove the Warren report.
Yeah, because they were into the sole shooter, sole person, wild, crazy man that didn't like JFK, and he just did it. And that's what 11/22/63 was kind of about.
Yeah.
But Jim Garrison's theory was no, there was a whole. He just thought a little bit, and when he started unraveling that thread, it became a lot bigger than he could even handle, and it impacted his family.
Even down Sutherland's like, you're closer than you think. But as we get to these other photos, we could also get to what's was in theaters real quick.
Oh yeah, we could do that in theaters. So let's
Shut your drums and stop kicking us face! We're trying to watch the movie.
Speaking of
yeah, no, right.
It's funny because we reviewed another film that's on this list, and I don't think
you have reviewed 1, 2, 3, about 3 of movies on this list.
Well, 3 movies now.
No, 4 now.
4.
Yeah, so you and I and Maria reviewed Hook. You and I reviewed Father and the Bride.
And Addams Family.
And the Addams Family.
I forgot about Hook. I forgot
so
we reviewed
we're
it.
just going through this list here.
I guess so. I think the surprising thing is because we looked at, when we saw how much money this film made, to see that this opened at number 6.
Yeah, but I came out the same week as Father and Bride, and I remember when we talked about in the theaters, and we were like, "Oh wow, we didn't know JFK came out."
Yeah,
and this spurred. I think our Father and Bride review spurred this month, right?
I almost feel like when that cast, like Steve Martin, should have popped up in this film.
I think we actually decided to do JFK November, after Father and Bride, knowing that movie popped up a few times when we were reviewing the others. So.
And then you were like, "What's on the bottom of my shoe? Gum?" And you're like, "No, Beard of Liberty."
Hello. So
yeah,
looking at the numbers here, and I should have thought of this ahead of time so y'all could pull it up. But as far as also the return on this, week over week, like the next weekend after this, it was up 36% to 24 million, then down 33, then down 30, then up again another 9%. So
wow, you're bringing
5 weeks into it was still making money.
Wow.
You're look at you. You're adding to the in the theaters section for us, bringing in all these number games.
Oh, look at this. We got a grade A suck up. Good to know. Good to know.
I mean, just in the first 7 weeks, just I think this is just domestic. It did 55 million.
Right.
And to start out at so low at just 10, that's pretty significant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Hook was a good movie, so
yeah,
I wasn't surprised that it didn't beat it. But there you go. There's some of the characters and their actors in there. Joe Pesci's eyebrows were amazing. What was that all about?
His eyebrows and the hair.
Like, what? You know what? If you look up that actual person, he doesn't even look like that. But wherever that came from, I don't know.
They always kind of make everybody's like, I've never seen such a strange looking man as that. And I think it was just almost to embellish him being, odd. But yeah, he's got. It's like somebody took like a fat Sharpie and like made big arches for eyebrows.
He painted his eyebrows on. He wanted to have like big eyebrows for some reason. I think I mean, Kevin Costner just looks like Kevin Costner. Like he looks the part, and it's just who he is.
Well, and then there's Donald Sutherland as Mr. X.
Yeah, and then you've got Lee Harvey Oswald there, and he talked like him. Like
yeah,
I would say the guy
Gary Oldman really did a good job with that.
He did, but I would say the guy from 11/22/63 did better.
Well, I think that's probably because in this, Gary Oldman had a specific kind of story path that character needed to follow. In 11/22/63, it was more of a play. He had to play it off as, was he a soul shooter? Was he influenced by the CIA? Was he influenced by the mob? And leave it open to the audience to interpret.
And
so I think that's why it came off as better.
They showed that scene though when he went into the FBI building and wrote that letter. So that actually happened. That was pretty cool. I thought, oh, that's pretty neat. They didn't talk about a lot of there wasn't
Bill.
No, Bill
was hanging out with him.
No, and they didn't talk about the a suicide attempt on the other senator, or other guy.
Murder or assassination attempt.
Yeah, on the general. But hey, I mean, whatever. I mean, this was, I think, a little bit more accurate to maybe what was going on. But yeah, there you go. It's really cool that I think Oliver Stone did a good job of creating these characters and making them feel kind of real in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Tommy Lee Jones, I think, did a good job in his role, but that white hair kept throwing me off.
his white fro. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Kevin Costner, if you took that picture,
go back home and make some etouffee.
If you took that picture down there, you have a Kevin Costner, and you put it on Untouchables, it's the same guy. It's
Elliot Ness.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Same dude.
I was gonna say the real Jim Garrison too is like 6'8".
Oh,
jeez,
big dude. Yeah,
I think he did pretty good with the accent though, the New Orleans accent.
Yeah, being like spending my entire life in the South in Texas, being not too far from the Louisiana border, and granted, especially in the New Orleans area, the accents can be a lot heavier. I'm very often put off by stereotypical Southern accents because people do them poorly.
Hey, y'all.
I did not pay attention to anybody's accent in this film.
Well, Kevin,
it was completely believable.
Yeah, I mean, we did Robin Hood, right? We reviewed Robin Hood, and he was horrible as a British person. But in this one, he did pretty good. So, yeah, awesome. What else you got, Rick? What do you got? Oh, more numbers.
I have got some additional.
Look at that. They're almost like perfect.
Yeah,
Look at John Candy, like literally. I think that dude was just wearing glasses because he was stoned.
Like, I know earlier you said that this is not a role.
Check me out, Daddy-O.
Yeah, you said this is not a role that he would go for, but I think they probably approached him directly because of how that guy looked.
I feel like he probably had a blast playing.
Are you saying something? Are you saying they're brothers?
I'm not saying nothing.
Well, there you go. There's Belushi with the dude with the eyebrows. I guess he did have some painted eyebrows.
Belushi, you mean Pesci?
I'm Pesci, sorry.
Those are some eyebrows.
Yeah.
And even Clay Shaw looks pretty. They look accurate, I would say.
Yeah.
I think Gary Oldman was pretty close. He definitely still has the Gary Oldman shaped face. It's very defined, but I think he still worked. Probably the voice down so good.
He was an odd guy in this movie too. He played the oddball. Like everyone's like, I think it was Lee, but they called him something else. He was just kind of odd, right?
Yeah, he kind of like blended in, like he was a nobody that stuck out.
Yeah, and they said that in the TV show that we reviewed too, that he was kind of
one of the things though that they kind of bring up in the film is that, and we'll see a picture of this person, that there was like another Lee Harvey Oswald around in the area that was showing up in places and very much being vocal about like, I'm gonna kill Kennedy. I hate Kennedy.
Another one. I think I missed that part.
Frank Whaley played the other Lee Harvey Oswald, who you see at the bottom left there.
Oh, okay. All right. I think I remember that scene. Yeah.
Yeah. and there's them trying to recreate the shot of what Lee Harvey did, and
they said it was almost impossible.
They were doing it. They weren't using his rifle, but they had same model and the same scope, and they were just doing a dry run with it and how tough it would be. And it's what's funny in all of this is the fact that when we were watching 11/22/63, and I was going like, why didn't he shoot him when he was coming toward him? Because it was like that seemed like such a perfect shot. And that's what they say too. They're like, why on earth would you have not shot him as he came to you? It was a much better shot for it. And the fact that he waited until he was going away, it was much harder. I mean, the only thing, like I said, that makes me go that why you would do that is the fact that they're driving away from you and they're not looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a little tougher to kind of
I mean, they covered they covered the whole route, like why he went that way and what happened. There was a cool scene where he's like when they start because this movie is 3 hours, so it does the whole lead up to this assassination, the assassination, and then Jim doing the investigation, and then like the last hour is the actual trial where he reenacts a lot of this stuff and asks really intense questions to some of the witnesses. And
this was the first time anybody in the public saw the Zapruder film.
Yeah, in the courtroom. That was the first time they saw his head,
get blown up.
Yeah, but this movie takes place from 1963 or 61, 63, all the way to 69, because they show MLK's assassination and they show Bobby's assassination as well in this movie. And he thinks it's all together. He tells his wife that he's just like
they just killed him, just like the others.
Yeah, he's like, this is all together. Like, this is all one thing. So, because he knows he's hearing all this, and his wife thinks he's crazy. Well, but she warms up to this, and she's proud of what he's doing because he doesn't want to live in a country that has this going on, and he wants to kind of shine light on it. And he did his best. Of course,
he's kind of an American idealist.
Yeah, it makes him. There's people like this today, right? Where they're going one way, and then all of a sudden something happened, and they realize, wait, why would we do this as our country? And then they want to shed light on. A lot of people on YouTube have made careers out of it. So I think he would have a YouTube channel. He would be hanging out with Rakita Law. What do you think?
Possibly. Michael O'Rourke's character, Bill, one of the people on Jim's team who's really good investigator, you kind of find out that he's got connections to the FBI, and they go after him because he's getting very close to things.
Yeah, and then
it's on the way back from the DC trip. They kind of get into a fight prior because Bill suddenly starts kind of going the opposite way of what he was going at, and everybody's kind of shocked at it. They all kind of fight with him, and essentially he kind of gets booted off the team. But yeah, on the way home, he shows up at the airport and he's like, they're after you, they're after you. And it's kind of this tense moment, and it almost seems like he was trying to get Jim to get into a situation where it could have been something bad could have happened to him. Best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bill quits. He walks away.
He's
like, I can't do this. Like, this isn't real. Like, there's no way this is happening. And they all do. It's like on paper. It's like it's you. It reminds me of that stupid meme with the guy from Always Sunny, where he's like trying to do the conspiracy mapping on his wall, but it all makes sense. And he's like, why? I think that guy was that guy. Like I think Bill was a little stressed out about the whole situation. He just couldn't do it.
I was kind of thinking that too. Like, he might not be crazy, but he's crazy obsessed with what he's looking into. And when you get that far down into it, then you start finding things that aren't necessarily connected. And this whole team gets caught up in his wake, and then a couple of folks just can't hang with that, and they say, I'm out.
But his one does leave and then comes back to the trial. His wife does come back to show his son, this is what your dad's doing. I thought that was a really cool scene when she brought him in there.
I like though she brings him in just as he's like, hey, say hi to your daddy, and then like bang, Kennedy's head blows up.
Yeah, but that was important because that shows she wanted her son to see what he does and why he was doing it.
Sure.
I thought that was pretty. That was. I mean, yes, maybe you shouldn't have shown it, but it was probably good for the kid to see that because he was always gone, and these kids like, why are you always gone? And he wanted.
Oh, and it's a good resolution of the conflict that you see stretched out through all the investigation. Is he's never home? It's like they're going to like Easter lunch or whatever, and he says, I'll be there late, and he gets home after dark.
And like, if you live in the South, Easter's important. And
yeah. And then his son starts being mad at him for never being home. So it was a great resolution to have him there.
Ever seen a dead body, Jimmy?
Oh my gosh. Have you seen Boys in the Hood? That's like that scene. You want to go see a dead body? Okay, so it does, the trial does a really good job of kind of wrapping this all up. We won't spoil the ending if you haven't seen it, but you can look it up what really happens. But he basically shines light on the conspiracy.
You might have to go back and to the left.
Yeah. I mean, the entire trial scene really holds your attention.
It does, and
it's really longer than it feels like because you're not paying attention at the time.
Do you want to try to play that video and we'll pause it a little bit just to show them a little sneak peek of the magic bullet theory?
As long as this film is, for the most part, it really holds at least my attention. There are a couple of slow spots in there where I kind of like started looking at the backside of my eyelids and had to back up a little bit because it was kind of late in the day.
Asleep. Oh, okay.
No, I was resting my eyes. But for the most part, it's really tense.
Mm-hmm.
And
I had a history
teacher.
See
how everything.
Yeah, I had a history teacher. He only played the trial in our class. He wanted to show us just the trial. And that's the first time I heard about this movie. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like, it got me.
So that's, just as his son comes in.
Now, some of this sequence, I think they have to jump around through the proceeding for cinematic's sake, just to keep the story going. Because he goes from like interviewing people to basically making his closing arguments with no cut.
They had to shorten it up. This would have been a 4-hour movie.
I mean,
I'm not saying that, but it is kind of weird whenever, because it happens and you don't realize it happens. Like you don't really actually care. It's just kind of an interesting thing that.
Well, the other kind of big thing that's going on in this film too, to kind of mention is, and that's kind of the other thing too, that with the Warren Commission is, right, a president was killed and, like the one person that's responsible is killed, but like nobody else, there's like nobody else involved. And it's just shocking that like nothing else came about it. There was nothing else discovered.
Yeah.
I mean, the one other person that was involved with it, Jack Ruby, who kills Oswald, he says he does it because he wanted to save, any kind of suffering for Mrs. Kennedy and with the trial.
Yeah.
And this is the whole kind of going through the magic bullet here, by the way.
Dude, if you want to get a transcript of his whole like monologue here, it's on IMDb.
Yeah. But this is that's the first shot though. I'm just mentioning that's what that diagram is.
Well, before you continue, when you said who's all involved, the X character, he says 3 things. Who benefits from this, who gets the power from this, and then there was, I can't remember the third one. I'm trying to look it up. But
who has the power gets the ladies.
Okay, it's the why was Kennedy killed, who benefit, and who has the power to cover it up. He's like that. You need those 3 things answered. It's not just like a random dude. He's too big. He's too big of a person to not have those 3 questions. There's an answer to.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, I mean, this shows that first time Kennedy gets hit. And this is kind of the magic bullet that we showed on your channel the other night.
Yeah, pristine.
Just pristine, where it enters at the back, goes up through his neck. It goes forward, but curves and comes back down, enters into the governor. Hits him in the back.
We'll put this in the description, by the way.
Sure. But yeah, it comes down through him, hits his wrist, then ricochets out of his wrist, goes up and then down into his leg. Right? Isn't that
and then happens to fall out on the
and then just lands onto the floor of the car perfectly.
Undamaged.
This is the official report and completely factual.
Yeah.
Yes.
YouTube, we're just theorizing over a movie.
I just realized that Wayne Knight as Newman did this scene twice whenever they spoofed this.
Yeah.
We got spit on. Sorry.
Well, and that diagram though is great though too. Like not only the one that you see it, but like also too, like like how they're claiming that this bullet curved, and again too, like I brought up that the 6.5 Carcano bullet it's a very, for a rifle bullet, it's a very round bullet. If anybody's familiar with firearms, I mean, when you shoot a rifle, rifles have a very pointed bullet. They're really, they're made to kind of punch through something. And the Carcano round was a much older design. It was a rounded rifle bullet. And they were known to tumble, or they call it keyholing, but keyholing and tumbling, they don't boomerang around like this. It just kind of flat spins is what happens.
Maybe it had had wings. It was controlled.
It was RC. But it just, once it hits something, it just starts to flat spin and tumble is kind of what the keyholing effect is.
I mean, there is the explanation that, or the possibility that car was retrofit and the seat the governor was in was actually lower and more central, and that would straighten that pathway out a little bit more, but it still doesn't quite add
waver around like it.
Yeah,
it's showing here.
Look how bored. Look how bored that
bailiff is.
Yeah, he's just like,
and he's like, Costner's poking me in the nipple with this stick.
Yeah, this was just this was just a cool scene because it's actually interesting how it puts everything in perspective. Like, look, this is what the bullet would have had to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just insane hearing about how I did it. And I mean, like the fact he's doing it like right in front of him too.
Can you imagine like being in the background there, watching Kevin Costner do this scene? It was probably really cool. Like he did this so well. The way it looked like he should have been there. Like he was actually he did a good job in this movie. So
acting, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, imagine being there for when it really happened with the actual Jim Garrison.
And seeing that headshot for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, that's just why, again.
Kind of would be interesting to be in that original crowd and just see the difference between people who like a 100% trust in the government, and then other people who are looking at this like, oh, he's onto something. Not that we shouldn't have 100% trust in the government.
I mean, this is a good scene. It's just, I'm glad. Hopefully, we get to show this to you all.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll put some effects on it. More.
Let's put some sparkles. Maybe
if
we could put a filter on it and like make Costner look like a dog or a cat.
Maybe when you're watching this, people, when it's live, we'll be on the other side. Anyways, it's just a great scene.
You need to update that watermark, make it an animated JT dancing. That'd protect everything. Yeah.
Yeah, look where he shows they fired the same bullet. That, you know,
This man.
No one is.
the same cartridge at a wrist, and how it mushroomed.
Yeah.
Yeah, because even Full Metal Jackets are soft on the inside for anybody who doesn't know. It's just copper covered lead, and you don't have to hit anything with much substance. It rifles speeds to get deformation of some kind.
Yeah.
So fun movie. I mean, interesting, sad, but also a fun, like a deep dive movie.
Yeah.
No, you can. There's a lot of scenes you can watch if you want to watch some of these scenes. They're on YouTube. You can definitely do it. But I'll put the link in the chat for the for that and the X conversation, because both are pretty.
This film was on Tubi, but I think it's leaving today. I think at the end of the month. This film is.
It's on Tubi and it's Prime. It's also
unfortunately, yeah.
But you can find it pretty much anywhere. I bet you if you went to a library, you would find it.
Then you just need to find a VHS player.
No, it's on DVD. So we have some fun facts. I actually have some fun facts for you. So, you ready?
That's the fact, Jack! That's the fact, Jack!
You liking those new clips there, Rick?
Yeah. Those are
okay.
Good.
So, I guess one of the facts is that the murder of Oswald by Jack Ruby was filmed on location in the actual basement garage of Dallas City Hall.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I think they filmed a lot of the reenactment of the driving through the downtown Dallas there too.
Yeah.
So John Candy's sweaty face during his talk with Garrison is real. He really...
Well, you can look at me funny. I start sweating, so
he was really sweating. And apparently, and this is why I remember. I'm thinking Oliver Stone was obsessed with JFK, just as James Cameron with Titanic. After reading Jim Garrison's book, Oliver Stone immediately bought the rights with his own money. So that's James Cameron Titanic level of like, I want to make a movie about this.
Yeah.
Immediately a passion project before it even kicks off.
I'm surprised they didn't like make like a whole scene in his backyard like Cameron did.
Well, I mean, the other thing though too, right? I mean, a big part of this is the conspiracy of killing Kennedy was to continue the Vietnam War. Oliver Stone was, was a soldier in Vietnam War. I mean, Platoon, he did that. That's all about Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Born on the 4th of July was another film he did prior to this. So, I mean, I think for him, I mean, that's probably why this is a very
passion project,
near and dear subject to him because of this event,
And this is rated R, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, warning, folks, if you don't show this to your kids.
Yeah, they don't pull punches on some, let's say, historical terms.
Another fact here, Oswald's arrest was filmed in the real Texas theater where it happened. Money from the producers helped to restore that theater and its business. There you go.
Nice.
So if you live in Dallas, yeah, you should definitely go on down there and check it out. I might check it out here soon. And one of the cameos like that highlights that the fun facts here on IMDb says, what you already mentioned was the real Jim Garrison was Earl Warren. You took that from me. So, and I guess Oliver Stone is very briefly in the assassination reenactment. Look very close for him as the Secret Service agent who runs towards the back of the limo after the fatal headshot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's in the movie. There was another movie too, right around. It came out, I think, in the 90s, well, maybe a little bit after this, with Clint Eastwood, In the Line of Fire, and he's a secret. It's about the Secret Service, one of the Secret Service agents, and his life, how it just completely just went downhill after this event. So that's another one if you want to watch a JFK movie. It's really good.
I
recommend.
haven't seen it, but I don't know what it's called, but Paul Giamatti plays Abraham Zapruder, who filmed the
Okay, I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, there's that one, and then I believe there was another mini series about the event called Parkland with Zac Efron.
Okay,
but I'm not sure what the whole plot about it is. But it's another mini series, so
maybe he found that portal at Al's Diner.
Maybe.
But no, a great movie. I mean, I don't know if you want to, if there's anything else to add about this movie. It's long, but it doesn't seem that long in some way, but it keeps your attention for the most part.
Yeah, considering some of the scenes are sitting at a table and going over evidence or lack thereof, or the questions that the evidence lays out, it's paced really well.
I just, watching this film, it just makes me think of a lot of things going on today.
So final thoughts on the whole movie, Rick. What is your final thought on this?
Oh, it's a great film. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend you watch it. It is a long watch, so definitely you might have to split it up into 2 or 3 pieces. But it's good though. I mean, it's definitely
it's a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna make you. Yeah, if you're not familiar with any, if you haven't heard about any of this stuff before, you're gonna be like,
yeah,
no way.
Yeah, yeah, it kind of trips you out.
It is.
What is your final thoughts on the movie?
I think it's really good. It's like I said, scenes that shouldn't hold your attention. You're glued to the screen. The trial scene, I could have sworn that was only like 10 minutes. I mean, I know it's much longer than that, but you're not aware of the passage of time. You're just completely living in that world at the time.
It's the last half hour. I want to say the trial scene.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
One thing I watched the director's cut of this film, and what's kind of added into it is it's actually kind of I take it back. I think this is when it occurs. It's right before the whole potential or supposed kidnapping, when Bill kind of comes back to tell him like, oh, they're after you. He actually goes, I think, forget where he flies, but he flies to go on like a talk show, and they kind of mock him for, it's because it's in the paper that he's bringing a trial together, that that Oswald didn't act alone, and he's like, look, I got evidence here, and they won't let him show the evidence. And they're like, nope, you can't. We can't allow you to show that on national TV. And he's like, but it's public record or something like that. It's just there was a lot of opposition against him.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. Again, I had a fun time watching it. Going back and watching this, talking about all this conspiracy, JFK assassinations with you.
Alleged.
It doesn't matter. You're already going to get the context tag like me.
Yeah, just wave to the camera. Your handler is watching.
Yeah. So I had fun this month. And Beard, again, welcome to the group. And I'm excited to review more. Yeah, excited to review more movies with you. So
can be fun.
And maybe one day you can help me with my my lawn.
Ghost ride the whip. Ghost ride the whip. Ghost ride the whip. Ghost ride the whip. Now
I don't know if you're ready for that. Not quite yet.
Well, no, it's not growing now because it's cold. But anyways,
now we did miss a weekend harder. That would have been last week, and I know we took a break. But I also think this upcoming weekend, some of us are busy. When are we going to be back live for weekend harder?
Oh, I would say the 9th. I would say the 9th.
The calendar ain't working. Sorry.
That's next Saturday, after this Monday when this video's gonna play.
Okay, so December
which
9th.
which would be the next scheduled if you count the one that we skipped, I think. So
okay, so we'll be back on track for that, and then I don't think we have anything planned movie review wise
For December. No.
for December, but maybe we'll let our newest co-host
Pick the movie.
pick the movie.
the guy who barely watches movies is going to dig up some obscure thing and make y'all suffer through it.
Hey, I'm on board. I'm on board. I'm on board. All right. Well, before we go, remember this holiday season, if you have stockings to fill, you can fill it with
prune candy.
Make sure you stuff it with prune candy. Your kids will love it. And all right, everyone, you have a good night.
I thought you were going to say to stuff it with an After the Weekend shirt.
No, I'm not pitching that today.
Oh, okay.
All right, everyone. Rick, do you have a quote to end out on?
Don't trust the government.
That works. All right, everyone, have a good, safe week. Welcome to the team, Beard.
Sleep.